Okay, it's 10:30 and I think we have a crunch of time today. So let me open the meeting. I'm calling to order the November 12th meeting of the Municipal Office Consolidation Subcommittee of the Land Use Working Group. I'm Paul Bohm. I'll be chairing today. And I think, Mary, are you doing minutes today?
Yeah, I'll do minutes. Yep.
Okay, great. Let's do that. Brief roll call. Tracy Morano,
Present.
Mary Hartman,
Here.
Paul Bohm present. All three of us are here. Welcome everybody else to the meeting. Uh, Let me just start out with any public comments today. I'm sure there'll be some discussion as we go, but any upfront public comments? Great. Hearing none, we have three sets of minutes that we've all caught up, and thank you all for crunching these. Assuming you had time to review it, I'll entertain any clarifications, questions, edits to the minutes.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
I wasn't at this meeting, so some of my questions are just me trying to get up to speed. So where it says guest staff, it says Bridget. Who's Bridget?
Oh, Bridget, she worked with Eve Eisenberg, and I don't have her last name. She works for Paul, help me on the architecture firm. Trying to think of Inkstone. Inkstone, thank you.
Correct, yeah.
Inkstone. And do you have her last name? Does anyone have her last name?
I don't have her last name. This is on is this October 15th? Which one is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's when they presented the Peabody renderings.
Right.
And so I included her because they did do the presentation. Carrie, it looks like you have her last name.
I think it's Steins, Steins. I think
Steins. Okay.
Great.
Okay, so I can add that and make that change.
Okay, I'm just taking notes here.
Okay.
You know,
And the video presentation review, that was of Peabody?
Yes.
Okay, great.
yes.
Is that available anywhere that I could see that?
I think that the PowerPoint is available. The videos on the recording. I think the PowerPoint is in our folder. I believe it is. I can send that to you.
That'd be great. Thank
Oh,
you.
could you put the video in the folder and then Mary doesn't have to watch it through the meeting?
Shannon, can you drop the video of that meeting into the folder?
I'm confused. Are you talking about a recording of the meeting or just a video that was shown during the meeting?
The video that was shown during the meeting.
I don't
Yeah.
have that, so I will ask Russ if he could connect me with the firm so I can get that.
Okay, it was kind of a 3D walk around using the conceptual view of the future Peabody, but
Okay, I'll connect with Russ.
we'll get there. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
No, other than that, I'm good.
Okay, do I have a motion? Minutes of October 1st, October 15th, and October 29th.
So moved.
So moved. Oh, sorry. I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Tracy,
Aye.
Mary,
Yes.
Paul, yes. Okay, great. We have three sets of minutes. One little correction with the last name of Brigitte Steins. Okay.
Shannon,
Great.
can you make that correction and then we can get it posted?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm a little pressed for time, so I'm going to flip the agenda a little bit and go right into the data. And Mary wanted to discuss the financial model and how she's starting to develop that model. Before I do that, I just want to give you an update on the data. Okay, I'm going to put up our favorite matrix here just to show you what's new on here.
Paul, can I just interrupt for 1 second about the Ripley numbers? There's
Yes.
apparently there is information, probably better information in the drive that I think the full committee had requested about the Ripley numbers. That might be a little bit different than what I provided to you.
Okay. Can you all see this? Is it big enough?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so just a couple little changes. I'm not going to discuss a lot. Just want in this first column here, these were operational savings, but they're also operational costs, assuming that one of the scenarios is we do nothing, it'll be a cost rather than a saving. I just changed the heading there. The rest of the numbers are the same. I dropped in, Tracy, the numbers you gave me, which is this yearly cost for operating.
Sorry, I'm trying to, so that's the
Wait, was that Ripley or
246?
Peabody? Is that
I'm
Ripley or
sorry.
Peabody?
I'm
Tracy,
sorry.
what you just sent out, was that Ripley or Peabody?
Ripley, Ripley.
You
It's
have it
Ripley.
for Peabody.
Yep, I just changed it. That's what I just did that 5 minutes ago. Sorry. So what I sent you, I'll have to resend. And the let me just I'll drop in the old. So this is the new part. I'll drop in the numbers I have for Old Marlboro. So I'll send that back out through Shannon to you. So
Well, I've got some other things I'd like to change while you have it up. It'll be,
Right.
should be quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tracy, you want to?
So that Ripley number, so now I'm looking, you changed it to 168. So when I go back to the number that Bob provided that's in the folder, it's at 246,976, which is what I think you just had.
I just had, but which is the better number?
I would go with the 246 number. Because mine was like back in the envelope, pulled out through the budget. And what he has in addition is the preventative maintenance and the custodial supplies in there. And then there's a full-time custodian, which is 68,000. So I might take out the 68,000 from there. But
Okay,
I
so-
think that numbers, I think the 246 number is better.
Okay. That was
Yeah.
what was in there before. Let me check on the Peabody number, Mary, because I'm not sure this is the right number, but since I fooled around with this.
I think that was the number that Tracy just gave you for Ripley.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not the right number. Yep.
Okay, so I got some things quickly. If you go down a little bit, I think we have a row for IT, CMLP IT staff. And I had a quick conversation with Kerry, and I think we should include IT and GIS staff, and I've got the numbers if you want to.
Okay, I had a question mark. What are the numbers?
I don't think you have the numbers there.
It's over, it should be, it's R15. It's a question mark.
So which row is that now?
Row 15.
Yeah, I know, but what's the header for? What is it?
It's CMLP IT staff.
Okay, if we could change that IT staff to IT and GIS staff, and then I've got the operating cost, the square footage, and the head count. We can fill that in.
Okay, you have the operating costs?
Yes,
What-
it's 16,000 a year.
This is just for
Just for
that
that
part
staff.
of
Yep.
CMLP?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And the head count would be 9.4. And the
Okay.
And then the square footage is, I'd say roughly 1,400.
Okay, this was all of CMLP.
That's all CML, exactly. So
So
we just
14.
I just carved out that. So that's good.
Okay. I think this is the land number, which is kind of moot. This
And
is the
the-
number.
The other thing I'm hoping is that we can separate out 133 from 135, Kai's Road. If you go up there, I think we've got it all bunched. There we go. It's right there. It's all. We've talked about separating out water and sewer from highway and engineering, highway and grounds and engineering. So I think we should consider that when we're looking at scenarios. So do we have any way to separate that out?
Well, there were a couple of reasons. So this is we probably do. I don't have that on here because this is all in
Yes, yeah,
number.
yeah.
Um,
Alan raised his hand.
Yeah, I'm
Go ahead,
sorry,
Alan.
my screen isn't working, so just, yeah, we can certainly sort of separate those as far as, I'll work with Russ and give you that information. That's not difficult to do.
That'd be great. Thank you. Do you want to send that to
Shannon,
Paul? You can send it to Paul
Sean,
and
Paul and Shannon.
great. Okay, good. And I think that's all I have for that right now. So,
Okay, those are good changes.
oh, I do have one more thing. Sorry.
Yeah,
Under Ripley, under all of the other sites, we've got that TBA or TBA report that gives us the amount of capital that we would have to put into those buildings within the next 10 years. But they didn't look at Ripley. So I think we've got a report by Gorman Richards, if I have that. I don't know if I have that right.
yeah.
That would give us the estimate of how much we would have to put into that building in the next 10 years to keep it functioning and healthy. So and I can't find that number. Does anybody know where that number is?
So the issue with Ripley is we are not interested in asking the town for any more money from the schools, right? So
Yep.
we're not looking to do any capital projects at Ripley. If something breaks, we're going to fix it. But beyond that, we don't have anything for Ripley.
No, I understand, but when we put together the economic model, and thank you for that, that's a relief.
I mean, I just want to be really clear about that.
I understand that. I understand that. But when I'm looking at the financial model and
Yeah.
I'm thinking, we've got to establish a baseline, and the baseline is what are our cash flows going forward if we don't consolidate anything? And then we compare that to various different scenarios where we consolidate different groups of buildings into one site. So I need a baseline number. I understand this is not money that you're going to come to
No,
request. We have
never. Yeah.
But do we have a baseline number so that we know that this is what we avoid? This is the amount of spending we avoid if we consolidate.
I mean, we could go deep into that.
I thought you had a report.
We have a report. Yeah, we have a
Yes.
report.
So is
I
that,
think it's in Paul, is it in the SharePoint or no?
I believe it is, and I had pulled out. It's very difficult to pull out numbers from that because there are various options, and but it's there. Some numbers.
We could just use a ballpark.
yeah, that's fine.
Let
That's fine.
me see if I
Okay,
can.
so that would be line 10. The capital costs are.
Yep.
Okay, so K10 would be this one here. So this is the number, this is the existing. If we did nothing, this top half is sort of if we did nothing. It's the status quo table. So we need a number for that. Down below,
We have the numbers for all
though,
of it.
under Ripple.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry?
We have the
No,
numbers for all the rest. They're not in this matrix, but go ahead.
If Ripley, if it's still on this chart as a consolidation target, and I'm not sure it is, but it is right now, we would need a number for that. And I think from the Gorman Richards data, which I pulled out, this $30 to $50 million number for renovating Ripley came out. We need to refine this number a little bit because that's too big a range. So
I mean, can we have Judith look at this and see if she has a recommendation for a number? I feel like I have zero expertise in this area.
I thought we had a report, and Judith's on the call. I thought
We
this
have
was,
a report, yeah.
but I guess Paul's saying the number's not exactly what we're looking at. It's not, what is it gonna cost us to keep this building going? Not renovate it, but just keep it going. Paul, Judith has her hand up.
yeah, go ahead, Judith.
Yeah, I wish I had something more specific to offer at this moment. I don't, but I will certainly look into it and get back to you guys as quickly as possible. And making a distinction, I think, between when we talk about building costs, Capital improvements are a distinct category from
Yes.
maintenance.
Yes.
So we have operating costs, then we have maintenance, which I think is the number you're looking for, as opposed to capital improvements. Just in
Yes.
keeping with Tracy's comment about no new investment in the building. So that's how I would distinguish those two numbers. And whether or not the Gorman Richards report discusses maintenance, I recall they may have lumped it with operating together. But let me go back and see what I can find. I probably can't do that before this meeting ends, but I will
Yeah.
look at that over the next couple of days.
Okay.
Thank you. That clarified the
just to-
difference between capital versus maintenance. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so just to clarify, the maintenance number here right now is in this first column called operating, just to keep the building going,
Right.
operational. And that's the number we just discussed at the beginning of the call, this 246
Yep.
number per year. And we don't have a capital number over here. I'll call it capital to keep it going. And we don't have a number down here, which is, sorry, this is capital to consolidate.
Yes, that's very good.
I'll just kind of put that in as a just as a marker, because they're different. I'm not sure how to get this number at all. Gorman Riches is going to be a maintenance number, keep the building going when it needs to fix it.
Yes.
This is sort of a different number. This is if we
Yes.
inhabit it. So
Yep.
this is outstanding here.
Okay.
And then just dropping down on the bottom here, I blacked out this line here, which is this potential of purchasing an office building. I call it newbie. Gave it a name. We had numbers in
good.
here.
Good name.
Yeah, newbie. We have numbers in here, but I don't want to discuss this on this call here. But we do have some numbers in that could go into the model, Mary, and you've seen those.
Yep.
I did the change here on the bottom is this leasing number. Mary, you and I have discussed that the number I had before was just on staff. You know, we have 120 staff and they need 150 square feet. Let's move them. But you and I discussed it's more than that. It's program space.
Right.
And just for I sent this to Mary and I put it on here. This is a very rough initial list of what other space we would need in a building. For example, we would need senior programming center. We need a kitchen. We need an integrated school, Concord Carousel. We need conference rooms and huddle rooms, kitchenettes, IT closets, storage rooms, in addition to space.
Yep.
We're going to need some estimates, Carrie and Tracy. And the other one I missed it here, STEM. Sorry, STEM.
Yeah,
room.
and could you also add outdoor spaces? Because with any programming, you're gonna need outdoor spaces for the schools.
Yeah. Let's just keep this. Yes, I haven't
Well,
considered
now we're
outdoor
just looking at
spaces
buildings. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, I just put this in here. We're going to need some estimates for this because you'll see the cost of leasing here in this note. I basically took 120 staff at $25 a square foot. Judith, this is her initial, said, let's give them 150 square feet. That comes up to 18,000 square foot, but that's only part of the need. The other need comes from the program space. Right now, I just dropped in a number of 10,000 square feet, which I think is incorrect. It's probably low. But both of those come out in this number here.
Yep.
This number is the
Yep.
cost of leasing per year and costs over 10 years. We're going to need that number for the model. And if we lease, there's going to be some renovation costs of a building that we move into. So that's the question mark over here. So this line on leasing, is just a start. And I think while the staff numbers may be good in terms of an estimate, numbers of staff, we have no great estimate for these. And I'm not comfortable kind of guessing at these, although I did. On the other hand, if we asked every stakeholder here what space they need, I imagine we come up with a pretty large number. So, Carrie, why don't you weigh in on this?
Paul, aren't those estimates all included in the TBA study, the space needs for all of those items?
Well, if we could take the 2020 numbers, and I'm not sure those were, well, we need to revisit those. Yes, the numbers in there. But I think, given changes in the past 14 years, I mean, it's worthwhile. Because these are future, what do we need in the future? And the future back then is not the same as, they're
Actually,
it's out of date. But
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry,
I
2020.
think we asked all of the staff to take a look at what was included in that 2020 study and provide any updated information. I thought we coordinated that through Russ.
Okay,
I coordinated that work.
Okay,
And I have all the survey responses. Those are all in the SharePoint, in the property folders. And so, if you're looking for, the COA response, that's going to be saved in the Harvey Wheeler property folder.
Shannon, I wonder if when we ask for something specific, you could just forward that to us. Because I find that when I go to the SharePoint folder, I quickly get lost. So I'm wondering, when we go through these meetings and we have specific requests, if you'd be so kind as to just send those to us attached to an email, that would be very helpful for me.
Yeah, I can do that for the ones I'm here on. I'm gonna have to log off here shortly, so it will just, if you need something specific, if you could reach out to me for what it is when I'm
Okay,
not.
good. Thank you.
okay, and I'm going to assuming that the responses have all these various pieces in it. But what that report doesn't have, I believe, is STEM integrated school, anything on the Ripley side of things. I'm not sure we have estimates for future needs on the school side of that, Tracy.
So I think we do have a list of, future needs just for growth. I mean, it all depends on housing development. It's not that, we're asking for, I just want to be clear, we're not asking for anything else, but I do think the most important part with integrated preschool and also for Concord Carousel, like it is a requirement for outdoor space. It's not a nice to have, it's an actual requirement from the licensing boards, and same with the bathroom facilities. So there would definitely need to be construction for appropriate sized bathrooms.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of.
I don't know
Yeah,
what to make of that, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Well, let me ask a question, and you don't have to answer that right now. Is there any program space that we're missing on this chart? Anything that's obvious that we would need?
Training rooms, I heard.
If on the Ripley side, I mean, it's office space, it's conference rooms, it's a large meeting space, which could be shared, right? I mean, it's not as though it would have to be the schools. Like if the town had a large meeting space, then that would suffice for both the town and the schools. It is complicated with the integrated preschool because they have, smaller spaces and larger spaces. They have physical therapy spaces, so they just need enough spaces.
Well, Tracy, you could help if you could look at this chart, which I'll send out, and just drop in some numbers in here for the school related pieces, and then we'll take the TBA report and add those and see what's missing from that.
So you want numbers of spaces that we would need.
Right, other than the office space, other than the people space, which I have just in this estimate up here, 120 staff. Okay, but anyway, that's an important number because this leasing cost gets pretty high, and that's going to be an important number in that piece of the model, Mary.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Okay, so that's just some updates on what I did on here. I do not have.
Paul, can I
Yeah.
just interject for a second? Do you have that list? Like I have a whole list of 5 classrooms, 2 speech and language rooms, 2 OT rooms. Do you remember seeing that list? Did I share that with you?
Probably, but wouldn't hurt to send it again.
Okay, so I'm going to send that list because we're in a public meeting. I can send the list to you and Mary of the spaces, correct?
Yeah, it's just data. Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Carrie again.
Thank you. So I guess I just want to make sure that we're being consistent about the ask. What we're asking the town to update, what we're asking the school to update. And I say that because we both just received a guideline for fiscal 27 from the finance committee, which doesn't even allow steady state. It's a reduction in programming. And there's definitely a conflict or a tension if we're asking, we're pulling together information on what we think we should be based on what we're hearing for service levels. And that's not being at all reflected in finance committee. So I understand it's a process, but I just want to make sure you're getting the same similar information from both sides of the equation.
Yeah, a personal opinion on that, and Mary weigh in. I'd like to disconnect the two, as painful or as inappropriate that may sound. What we're looking at here is something, an optimization, I'll call it, of what council on aging may need, what the schools may need, what the town may need going forward, along with, consolidating staff. I mean, all of these numbers are put from a real town and school financial point of view, a hypothetical, right? Because we're just projecting out numbers with different scenarios and we're trying to model that. So I'm not sure, Mary, weigh in here, I'm not sure that the current FinCom reality should get in the way of our modeling. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that I don't know how to answer this really. I'm kind of at a loss. Actually, I don't. Carrie, can you explain to me again what your point?
So I think when Paul said optimization of services, that is helpful in the way that I'm looking at this, because I know in some of the other subcommittee meetings I've sat in, I think particularly public safety, they're talking about, what's our population going to do? What is the trend, like particularly in age? How are their requests for services going to increase? And if we can't grow to meet those demands because of a limitation being placed upon us, I hate to have people spending time identifying what we should be if we can't get there. So I think as simple as it was, optimization helped me frame this in my brain. So I'm okay with that.
Good.
Yeah, and then let's remember we're coming up with some recommendations that are based on similar assumptions, right? And the recommendation will have a big financial piece and will have certain assumptions, but a recommendation is the first step. And then after that, we're gonna have to drill down into kind of, the reality, I'll call it that way. I mean, we'll move from the optimization to the reality at some point, but that I hope I'm making sense. But at this point, I think I like this similar assumptions across all of our scenarios that we haven't really talked about yet. And then, so we can compare them. We have apples and apples. And then we can pick from that what makes sense. The exact numbers within that are going to be, are not nailed down by this modeling.
And I think that, the financial pressures in the town are clear. And I think, I agree with Carrie, like it feels like, finance committee is giving guidelines and doing things right now. And we're talking about hypotheticals. And I guess,
Yeah.
from the school side, it's the same thing. I think that Lori and Carrie are in unique positions right now, and they're not asking for any of these things. This is this committee's work. And so maybe if we just frame it that way, that it's this is a hypothetical, not reality. I mean, I hate the word hypothetical too. I guess optimization probably is better, but I do understand, kind of the pressures that they're receiving, especially right now. So just to be cognizant of the fact that like there are no, and that's why I keep saying about Ripley, we have no additional asks at Ripley. I just want to be really clear. Just because I want to be respectful of, FinCom guidelines and what they're asking of us.
Well, I think when we make recommendations, it has to be crystal clear what the assumptions are in making those recommendations. So people know very clearly that I'll call it optimized or hypothetical. It's really a set of scenarios that we're trying to model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ours is very high level, and I wouldn't bring any of our numbers to the bank, really.
Yeah.
I appreciate Carrie's point.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
we're looking out 10 years, and we've got some pretty big ranges on some of our numbers. So we're trying to get an order of magnitude here. It's we're not putting together a budget, so I'm okay.
Okay. Nick, I see your hand raised. What I want to do is, just in general, I want to pivot quickly off of this table and give the floor to Mary to talk about the modeling that she's thinking about.
Oh,
Which,
okay.
of course, these numbers go into that, but there's still lots of work to do on these numbers. Nick, you have a comment? Nick Pappas?
Ouch.
Okay. If you join us, Nick, we'll entertain that. Let me take this off the screen. I will update it with some of the numbers that I misplaced up here, and I will keep these notes so we know exactly what the difference is between the top half of this chart and the bottom half of this chart. Okay, and I think the action item is to kind of get these numbers from either from the TBA report
Or Russ or Judith.
and or well, we need to do this collectively, but I want to make sure that we are thinking about these. I know that when Russ took a look at Peabody, he was thinking along this line, but I want to do a little bottoms up kind of estimation of all these again in the optimized world. Okay, so let me take this off. Stop sharing this. Okay.
Good.
Got it.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but as I said at the beginning of today's call, we're trying to establish a baseline of what we're going to spend in the next 10 years if we don't consolidate any town offices. I should have said in school. And because we're not consolidating, we have the opportunity to sell Peabody. So I want to get a baseline number. What does our cash flow look like going forward? And included, what is it going to cost for operating expenses? What's it going to cost for maintenance? And then on the inflow side, what would we get if we sold Peabody? And what would we get for taxes from any housing or that's built on Peabody? So I'm making some assumptions here. And when I assumed we'd sell Peabody, I assumed two things. First scenario would be we sold it as AA zoning, which would mean we'd get 4 housing lots. And the other is that we could have B zoning, which we'd get, I believe, let me see what I have down here. 16, I think, housing lots. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, let me just quickly go over how I framed this. So up here, we've got cash inflows, so or cash outflows. This is what we're going to be paying as operating or maintenance costs for these buildings. And I put it in year 5, even though I'm not sure when it's going to happen. But I've got year 0 through year 10 up here. And I said, we know we're going to have to spend some money to keep these buildings up, to keep them safe, to keep them usable, and I put that in year 5. And these are out of the TBA report, and I have yellow here because we're waiting for Ripley. Down here, I've got what does it cost to operate these buildings annually? We've already talked about that today quite a bit. And then I've got cash inflows from the sale of Peabody, and the net, if we assume that we're going to sell Peabody and we're going to build 4 houses there, the net outflow is about $5.9 million. If, on the other hand, we assume that we sell Peabody under zoning B, we would get more lots, more revenue, and in fact, it would be a net positive of $5.5 million right here. So I don't want to spend a lot of time getting into all of this, but if we just summarize this, status quo, meaning we don't consolidate, we sell Peabody as single family, AA zoning, that's our net outflow. If, however, we sell Peabody with more housing, we would actually have a net inflow. This is just our baseline. Now what we need to do is we need to go think, okay, what is a possible scenario going forward? Which departments or which sites would we consolidate, and where would we consolidate them to? So that's where we've got to kind of think of what are some likely scenarios. Because I mean, I could go on and create, 25 scenarios, but I think we've got enough intelligence here to know what would be likely scenarios. And and when we get the cash flows from those, we'll compare it to this, and we'll be able to put them in a table that says, these are the different scenarios, and here's the net change or the net benefit to our cash flows. And that's all I have to say about this. So if
Yeah.
anybody has any questions,
No, I think this is a great start building this model. I'm just on the scenarios so this is the baseline.
Yep,
At the far end would be consolidating everybody,
yes, yes,
but into what? I think right now there are 3 of those. Call it scenario 5A, B, and C. One would be Peabody,
yep.
the second would be a new building, and the third would be leasing. We haven't, so maybe those are the things to think about next before we get any of the interim solutions. I don't know.
Well, I gave this some thought, and I'm wondering if we could have some time with Carrie, maybe at our next meeting,
mhm.
to look at, I agree with you. Let me back up. I agree with you, Paul, that the target sites, we've got those pretty narrowed down. But which sites we would consolidate, I think I really need Carrie's help to figure out what are very likely candidates for consolidation, and then what are some that aren't. What do you think about?
Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about when I'll call not all sites, it's the likely sites.
Right, the likely sites.
As opposed to the interim, which might be we do some of those, we only do some of them. So
Yeah,
I think the maximum likely sites is the end, that's this.
yeah, but
And then in between that, we work with Kerry, we could say, well, only if only 2 or 3 sites. If it were just public works, for example, that moved, or if it were just the schools in the town.
assessor's office, or
that
yeah.
could-
So how about we put it on our agenda for the next meeting that we we go through that list. I don't think it should take a long time, and just ask Carrie what her thoughts are, looking at it townwide. And then we can also talk with Dr. Hunter if we want about the schools. It's, get their input. It's an idea. I'm throwing it out there.
Can I just ask a question? When you're talking new building, Paul, where are we talking new building? Or are we not even talking about where yet?
We're not.
Okay,
We'll
that's
probably have
just a scenario, would be a new building scenario somewhere.
well, that's not, it's it's an. It's
We have
not
limited
building-
options.
Well,
I think I
no,
know what you're talking about, but I didn't know if there was any further discussion about that.
well, we haven't talked about building a new building.
That's right.
We've had discussions about purchasing a building,
A building.
existing building. We could complicate the scenario and add those too, but
So we're
this
just going to
point-
call it new building, and that would be purchasing a new building,
purchasing existing building,
existing building. Okay.
as opposed to building a new building. I mean, we might want to add that at some point, Barry, building a new
Yeah.
building, but
Oh, Judith has got her hand up.
Okay,
yeah,
before we leave this, and I'm ready to
Yeah.
leave this unless there are other questions, I just want you to know, these numbers aren't complete. So I think the model is right, but I think we've got some information about Ripley in particular that's going to change these bottom lines. So just
So just
don't.
to clarify, the swing in zoning here
Yes,
is a
the
$10
swing is,
million swing.
yeah. But again, these are preliminary. I don't have all my data. You know, I'm missing Ripley will swing. And I also would like, yeah. So don't, I mean, the bottom line is there because it's just a calculation, but it's not a number I would take to the bank. It's not. But yes, there's a swing because you've got 4 housing lots or you have 16 housing lots. And the
And
four housing lots I
yeah.
assumed would sell for $1 million each to a developer and they'd be sold at 2.5 million per home. And with the the B zoning, you've got 16 units. The lots would be 850 and the homes would sell for 2 million.
And do you have tax revenues in there as well?
I do.
Okay, great.
And can I just ask a question, which I was going to ask on Friday regarding this was the appraisal? Is there movement on getting appraisal done at PPD to get better numbers?
That's our next agenda item. Yeah.
Okay.
So data needs. I kind of flipped the script on our agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paul, you've got some hands up, I think, before we
Yeah.
take this down, we might want
Do you
to.
still have a hard stop, Mary, at
I
11:30?
do. I have a hard stop at 11:30.
Okay, good. Let's go with Judith and then Carrie.
I'll try to be quick. So the first thing is with regard to the new build, I think, yes, we do need an estimate for what the building cost would be. And then we can isolate the land component because that obviously depends on where you are. But the cost of a new build is how you compare the cost of renovating. Right. So that if we're looking at renovating a building, we need the new build as a point of comparison. But that's fairly easy to do, right? That part I'm not too concerned about. The second part is on the spreadsheet and the data. I love that we've got the base data spreadsheet that Paul has, right? That is just capturing a whole bunch of data. Mary, the modeling is exact, you're talking my language there. There's a few assumptions, Mary,
Yep.
that I think are different than some of the data that I'm using in other groups. So you and I can talk offline and
Yes, we should.
and get that up to date. And then I think we need one more spreadsheet, which is a space planning spreadsheet that maps employees to square footage, and also includes, importantly, as Tracy raised, the issue of outdoor spaces. So I think we just need to start refining the space planning numbers. So, but I think that's all forward movement. And then the third item is the appraisals. We are, finally moving forward with that because we got the expenditures approved by the group last week. So hopefully that's going to start moving fairly quickly.
And can I just ask Judith, when you said new building, I guess I need clarity on purchase of a new building or building a new building. Are you suggesting that we add that fourth category in of building a new building?
So I think, yes, so building, and it doesn't have to be a super
Alright.
precise number, but the idea of what would it cost to build new? Because acquisition would be a comparison to a cost of a new build again, because acquisition would be if you had an older building, for example, compared to building new, they have different life cycles and so forth. So if we're talking about, optimizing the space and the life cycle of the space, that would be new construction. Doesn't mean we can afford it, doesn't mean that it's something we want to do, but we need to have like, what would it cost to build new? And we're doing the exact same thing in public safety, by the way.
In that scenario about building new build, do we have to identify a location?
I don't think so. I think for the, unless we had a location that we were excited about that was fleshing out to be a more full option. I think you can just talk about it theoretically because people will say, when we take this back to the community to discuss these different options, somebody will say, well, what would it cost if we just built a new building? So we should have a number for that. And
Okay.
then we can use it as a basis of comparing renovation costs. Because if renovating Peabody costs the same amount or more than building new, we need to know what that number is.
Okay.
Well, and I think I look at like the school's model for building new buildings that's happened since, 2004 is building on the site, the school site, and then knocking the building down. Like, I don't know if that's a scenario that we're considering for either Peabody or for Ripley. And maybe that's complicating things too much, but I'm just throwing it out there to the group.
Let me just go back and carry up just a minute. I'm going to ask Judith a question on the separate spreadsheet of, I'll call it staff spreadsheet, which I envision to be, let's take a location, specific number of staff. What space does that staff need? But as part of that, we'd also have to include program space. So it's sort of, we have an operation, current operation. What do we need to support that operation? So it's more than staff, right? It's staff plus program
Oh,
for
yes,
each
absolutely.
operation. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, got it. Okay, Carrie.
Just a quick point, and I don't want to presume that this is being represented, but the proceeds from the sale of a capital asset can only be used for another capital asset. So we're making the comparison here of O&M costs over a 10-year period versus the sale, what we would get from the sale of Peabody. And I just want to make the point that we could, if we sold Peabody, we could not use those funds for O&M. You could use them for other capital.
Okay,
Okay.
good point. I didn't, I
Makes
wasn't.
sense.
So this would offset capital spending for the town,
Correct.
not, and that's not, okay.
Okay. So on the scenarios, Mary,
Oh.
we need to talk about you mentioned on the agenda for next meeting specific I'll call it staff moves scenarios, but also we should probably start to flesh out scenarios. How
Do
many
you
we
want
want
do you want me to show the slide that Judith showed at our full meeting?
Yeah, please do. I think because that's
Okay.
the
I
great
thought
thing.
we all really liked that.
Yeah. So the scenarios are the options, right? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to talk to that? Go ahead.
Well, I think that's what we need to. We just talked about status quo, called the baseline
That's
one,
right. That's
and
right.
we start noodling around number 5, which actually there's several different options depending on number 5. Just to clarify, we moved quote unquote everybody. We need to define what everybody is to one of 3 scenarios: new building that we build, new building that we buy, and Peabody.
Can
So,
I just back up for a minute, Paul?
Yeah.
This particular slide that I just shared was what Judith shared, looking at public safety, if I'm
Right.
right. So we just liked the framework of it and
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
that this might be useful for us to frame our recommendations at the end of the day. So the first row is the first column is options, and like we said earlier, our first option is status quo. And Paul, you're right. Our final option would be, and we build a new building, I guess. And then the next column was scope, timing, and scope, cost, and timing. I think for us, cost is going to be probably one of the most important aspects of our recommendations. And then the next 2 columns are just some, highlights of the pros and the cons of each option. So I guess
Well, it's
go
cost
ahead.
and it's revenue, or it's
Well,
net.
I meant net cost, the net cost to the town. The
Yeah,
net proceeds.
but to Carrie's point, there'd probably be a net operating cost and a net capital, probably because you can't net them both together.
Right. I'll have to think more about that, but yeah, somehow we got to work that in. You're right.
So can we do this, can we use this framework and and go through and put our information to that? Would that be something that would go on the next meeting agenda? Or are you
I
suggesting we
think
do it
it's
now?
too soon to start populating this. I think the next thing we need to do is figure out what are our likely options,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
I call them scenarios. What are our likely scenarios? And before, I mean, because I said earlier, I could model, 25 different scenarios or
Yeah.
25 different options, but we need to agree, think about this and agree on what are some likely options.
So this would be the goal, is to get to this type of document for this group.
Well, yeah,
And
what do you think?
I
Yeah.
like it. My apologies. I was tied up on Friday. I like this document, I think, and if we were consistent across all the groups, I mean, that would be great to have each group have this type of document and to use exactly this format, because I think that could be helpful even when doing a report or a presentation. But I think we need a target date to when we think we can get this done.
Judith, when do we need to have this done? In order, I'm assuming that this is kind of phase one of our work that we've signed up for.
So we ran a little short at our last full land use working group meeting, and we were about to discuss how to deploy a template like this so that all three groups were producing a report that looks similar and that uses the same language and the same sort of table design and so forth for the ease of everybody to be able to read each other's work. The deadline that we're thinking about for the production of the full report is end of January for the completion of the subgroup work. So I think getting to a draft or having, I can see Sven's here. Sven's here from Germany. Hi, Sven. Oh no, that's actually from the last meeting.
Yeah,
I thought
that's the
Sven was
last-
waving.
Yeah,
Thought-
The
yeah.
screenshot
maybe
from the last
he
meeting.
I thought maybe I was saying something so wrong that he was gesticulating from Germany.
I know. I thought the
That's
same
funny.
thing.
So I think, where we are with the public safety group, if this is helpful, is that we are, we have a pretty good sense of our options, and we're trying to flesh out the analysis of the options. I think you guys have more analysis, but it's not necessarily tagged to a specific set of options. So I think we're
Yes.
actually at the same place, but just ahead in different ways. So I would say you want to have a good chunk of this at least fleshed out in a draft form, hopefully, by mid-December, before we all take off for the holidays. And then we can refine and write it up in January. That's kind of what I'm thinking, but every group is going to be a little bit different.
Okay, then I think getting the likely scenarios or options is our next step.
Yeah, let me just say something about that. So
Yeah.
we've kind of talked about the two end members, right? The baseline, and then I'll call it moving all. Now we've got to talk to Carrie about what all means.
Yep,
That's the maximum move.
yep,
In that scenario, it's really, at this point, it's really several, because the consolidation targets are varied. We haven't limited those, right? It's probably Peabody, build a new building, purchase an existing building, or leasing. So there are actually 4 consolidation options under
Okay.
that,
yep,
which is a lot of scenarios. So in between the two end members, there's sort of the interim solutions, are not move everybody, but move some.
yep.
So
Okay, good.
so I think we should probably think about maybe 2 of those interim scenarios, and
Mhm.
each one defined by a group
Yep,
A and group B. But remember, each one of those is still going to have the 4 targets. So you're really talking about, wow,
a lot.
a lot of scenarios even
I
in
know.
that. So let's think about
Okay,
that. between
maybe
now
we
and-
should just have a scenario where we consolidate everything, and the real variable here is, where do we consolidate to?
Yeah. Once we establish that end member, yeah, and then we can say, let's pull back and model some. Yeah, I would focus on the all scenario, and then
Okay, okay.
Carrie will focus on next meeting what your recommendation, what all means, and
Great.
we're also going to need to get that program space. I'll start to kind of just structure a staff chart. I won't fill that in, just so we can look at that chart to make sure we have that for the next meeting. So
And maybe just another suggestion of, consolidating some. You could consolidate carousel with the integrated preschool. A lot of towns have things like that, where they have like a preschool campus as an option, because they are going to have the same programmatic needs and they're going to have the same space needs. I mean, this is in a dream world, if you really wanted to consolidate all the offices in one place and, you know, for lack of a better term, the little school sites, the early childhood school sites in another.
Well, let's agree that we'll give Mary no more than 100 scenarios to model.
But maybe we have a target now. Maybe 5 is the target and we just really
Yeah.
have to whittle that down.
Yeah, we need a target.
I
And
feel like 5, more than 5, it's going to be impossible, I think. But
well, we've already got, we know of, oh God, we already know of 8 because
I
we've
know, but
two, you know, we've got the 2 under the do nothing. We've got, you know, anyway.
Okay, well, I think that should be a major agenda topic for the next
next
meeting.
time.
Okay, good.
The on the agenda, Nick, you've had your hand raised for a while. Are you kind of frozen in time, or do you have a comment? Nick is frozen in time.
I think maybe, is Nick been
He's listening.
has he been muted?
I
You're the,
No.
are you the host, Paul, being the chair?
I think we can, I just lowered his hand. We're all co-hosts.
oh,
Nick, if you have a question, maybe raise your hand again. Maybe it was like an accidental raise.
no, he
Oh,
raised his
he's
hand.
back. Okay.
Can you unmute him? Or
I think I can. I'm going to ask him to unmute. Maybe that's fine. There we go.
Ah, okay. This is back on your discussion about program needs, which the committees, meeting rooms for committees. It may not be a huge number and it may be totally adequate with whatever you need for meeting rooms for staff, but with 70 committees, there's a cost.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean you raise a good issue. I wasn't thinking of committee meetings. We'll still have the townhouse, but that is limited to how many meeting spaces are. Right now, all the meeting spaces that we use are in buildings that may be vacated. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, is there a master schedule of when and where all the committees meet
I don't think so. I think that's just done by meeting room.
by
Mm.
meeting room? So
That's
maybe
a
we
really-
look at all the meeting rooms and, you know, see what our current needs are, and maybe we can try and plug when the committee meetings are.
Or look at the committees and see how often they meet.
They
That's all.
meet, yeah.
No, good point.
Yeah,
I'm
that's,
glad we finally unmuted you. That was good.
Well, now we know that we have to ask somebody to unmute when it's on
You know,
Zoom. Sorry about
This
that.
has happened at a few meetings where the host doesn't notice that everybody's blocked, and it's probably a Zoom security issue, Zoom bombing security issue.
right.
Yeah.
But if we aren't responding, it's because you've got us blocked. Thanks.
And we don't already know what's blocked or not. So I'm glad we figured that out.
Yeah, if you could at least put the video on, I could wave my hand.
Oh, wait, maybe I could do that too. Let me see if I can do that.
But yeah, without the video, there's no way you can signal. I mean, I tried
No, 'cause
sending
we
a couple
couldn't
of
even,
text
yeah.
messages to Mary, but because she's the only one whose phone number I had.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nick, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not an option to, it's only an option to ask you to unmute, but not to
Oh,
show your video.
Okay,
I see.
okay,
it.
so just be aware. Thank you.
Good, but good point. We-
Because I think that Judith is a co-host and that's why she can show her video.
The, I think that's a good thing, that let's remember to put that in our space spreadsheet, or our
Yeah,
space
wow.
analysis, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've got to go. I have a hard stop.
Okay, good. I was just the next topic was sort of I was going to talk to Judith about the appraisals and some of the outstanding issues. I think we covered
Paul,
some
do you
of
want
them.
to continue without Mary? Because we will have a quorum. It's up to you. Mary, do you want us to continue or no?
That's fine with me. I'll watch I'm taking the minutes, so I'll have to watch the video anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still a quorum. Okay.
Okay, okay, bye.
Bye,
Thank
Mary.
you. Okay, no more modeling discussion since Mary's gone.
Exactly. I don't want to have that discussion.
On the
No.
data, look, we already talked about a lot of pieces that we still have to fill in. I don't want to repeat that, but Judith, on at the group meeting, we touched on sort of how we're going to spend our resources in terms of appraisals and studies. Can you kind of revisit that for us? I don't think Tracy was at that meeting. So there are two
Yeah, that
categories.
was on
So
Friday. I missed it.
the land appraisals, number one, and then the studies, number two.
Sure, I can do a quick recap. So at the last meeting of the full working group, we approved spending on a set of studies not to exceed $50,000. The first one, which would be the most expensive, we imagine, is maybe between $15,000 to $20,000, is a development impact study, Tracy and audience, that would address the impacts on public facilities and public services from anticipated population growth. So they would model, sorry to use that word, they would estimate population growth as a result of proposed pipeline, approved projects, largely residential, but in addition, anything notable of a commercial nature, and look at impacts on population distribution, because we're all, thinking about the shift of the population to the West Concord side of town. They would look at impact on school registration and enrollment. They would look at impact on police and fire services. They would also look at in a very preliminary way on impact on public services, including water, sewer, utilities, and so forth. So we feel like that's an important study to get taken care of for all of the groups. That's number one. The second study is a set of market appraisals. So we are moving forward with getting more formal appraisals done for Ripley, for Peabody, for the Kais Road complex, some private parcels as well that are, sort of in locations that we think could be interesting. We'll be doing appraisals on those as well. I'm sure there are other Harvey Wheeler. I think we're going to run an appraisal on Harvey Wheeler. So there's a set of addresses that I can also send to you, Tracy, so that you can get the full list, but it should be in the minutes from last week's meeting. So we'll be doing that. Those appraisals, based on some preliminary conversations with Carrie, may run us 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 a site, depending on the complexity. So we're thinking that those will cost about 10,000 all in, and we should be able to get those turned around fairly quickly, as opposed to the development impact study, which is going to take a little bit longer. The final set of studies is doing some cost appraising, in particular on the Peabody site, and then also on the Walden Street public safety facility. And what we're trying to determine by doing some preliminary cost analysis is to really get a better sense of the feasibility and cost of renovation, because there are some differing opinions emerging amongst people in town and outside experts who are giving us different impressions of the feasibility of renovating both of those buildings. Some people say, oh, renovatable and it'll be X dollars a square foot. And then other people are saying, well, we don't think that this building is salvageable in any way, and the cost would exceed building new. And that's where the building new figure comes in as being a helpful benchmark in understanding the cost of renovation. So those two studies will also take a little bit of time to get secured. But we're hoping to lock those down for, between 5,000 to 7,000 per. So looking at 10 to 15 for those studies. So that's the set of three. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Good recap. One thing that's sort of increasing the complexity of our scenario planning is that our consolidation targets are still many. I think Ripley, although I don't think we've had a formal vote or need a formal vote, I think Ripley has been taken off the table as a consolidation target just by virtue of the type of building it is. The 2229 site is still on there, but that since they build a new building is in there, that could be a site. It's still on there, but not as a real consolidation target, no more than any other piece of land. I'm just wondering whether, Trace, just something to think about, whether there's any other consolidation target that should be removed. And Carrie, I'm going to ask you, at one point when we talked about leasing, you had mentioned that I think your words were there's no advantage to the town in leasing, but yet it's still on there. Should it remain on the consolidation option?
Well, yeah, so my point was private business leases because there's a tax benefit. There's no tax benefit to the town for doing that. And based on the dollar value that has been floated around for leasing, it seems like leasing versus a lease cost versus the town purchasing and financing that, I'm not seeing much of a difference. And so I don't know what the benefit would be to the town to lease.
Carrie, can I ask a question about building, just so we can understand all our scenarios? Is there anything equivalent on the municipal side as the MSBA that we could get funding for? No, there's nothing. Okay,
No.
we're just checking. I'm like, let
No.
me just ask the expert here. No, okay. Not that we'd get that, but
I like how you're thinking, but no.
no,
Well,
okay, all right.
What is MSBA, just for my?
Massachusetts School Building Authority, and so they, they work with schools. So we had MSBA funding for the high school build, but we were denied it for the middle school build. So it's just it's a funding source. It's grant funding, and I don't know, some would say fund like 40% of the project. So like Lexington High School, for example, is going through the MSBA process right now for their $500 million new building.
Well, okay, just we'll leave leasing on there for the moment, but it seems to be questionable. I'll put it at this point. The other thing I don't want to lose track of, we've done some benchmarking on conversion of school buildings to municipal buildings, and somewhere outside the modeling, it needs to come into play in terms of a range of estimates, and maybe when we get the Peabody number for remodeling, we can compare that to the benchmarking and then see if it makes sense. But I'm just wondering what to do with the benchmarking information we have. I don't want to lose track of it, so it's still out there.
Maybe just put that on the agenda for our next meeting,
Yeah,
just so we don't. I think Nick has his hand up again, so I'm going to ask him to unmute.
yeah.
Is
he
that
does.
okay, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Hi, yeah, Judith, I think this is I keep hearing discussion of the Walden Street site as being a renovation opportunity. Looking at the plot of land and the wetlands issues, I think it's conceivable you could build a larger building on that site. So I think that should not be discarded as a possibility, because you might be able to make more efficient use of the site.
Yeah, I think there are renovation questions, Nick, and then there are new build questions. And the new build question becomes, well, yes, it's more efficient to maybe to build something new. And then you look at the variety of sites. And if one option is to build new at Walden, we would certainly take a look at that footprint and
Okay, as long as it's in the pipeline to make
Oh,
that
yeah,
consideration.
absolutely.
Just haven't heard it's uttered ever. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to, let's say, Ripley. I mean, if we were going to build a new building, we could take down Ripley and use that site, or we have land that you could even take down Peabody. I mean, some people have suggested it's more cost effective to demolish Peabody and build another building there. I don't know if that's reasonable, but yeah, I mean, we're considering those, I think, in multiple groups here.
Yeah.
I think that kind of covers. There was one other item, so it was a debrief on the larger group meeting, but I think we've kind of gone over some of those key points from the larger group meeting. So I think we've covered everything on the agenda, and we've smattered this meeting with public comments, which I think is appropriate for this meeting. Any other thoughts? Well, let's call it public comments again. Any other thoughts of things we should discuss at the next meeting or miss at this meeting?
All right. Carlin's hand went up and down, so I'm just going to ask her to unmute. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carlin.
Hi, Carlin Reed, 83 Woods End, member of the Finance Committee. Speaking on my own behalf, I understand that there's a significant amount of angst over the Finance Committee's preliminary guidelines. And I wanted to stress that these are preliminary. What the Finance Committee is looking for is responses back from both the town and the school on why these numbers don't work. So I would encourage both entities to get that discussion going. I think it will help. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Not
Thanks, Carolyn.
exactly part of our agenda, but I think it's in the background to what we're talking about here. It's called Money, Money, Money by ABBA. Okay. If nothing further, I think it was a great meeting. Thank you all. And the next meeting, are you chairing, Tracy?
I don't know who, do we have that, do we have a schedule for that? I don't know if it's my turn. Maybe.
It probably is because you missed the meeting, so
Yep.
you get penalized for that, 15
I
yards.
get penalized. I'm going to have to chair it. Okay,
But the good part is I think I take minutes next meeting, so.
great.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, all.